Hi everyone, and thank you so much for listening to a new episode of Start Inspired. I'm your host, Samantha March. Want to welcome you back to a new episode where today we are going to be talking about low vibrational things I no longer do in my 30s. A few activities, habits, mindsets that I did in my 20s that I no longer do in my 30s. If you are watching on YouTube, there's a fly in my office. My dog is sitting on the chair behind me. I don't know if you'll be able to see her, but I heard her mouth going, and that would be why. So we have a third in the room with us today, so that should be fun to get through. Of course, if you're listening on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, it's always super helpful if you rate and review the podcast, or if you share it. If you do share it on like social media, I always love if you tag me. I am by Samantha March on Instagram and also on TikTok. And of course, if you are watching on YouTube, I hope that you will subscribe to the channel and leave a comment on the video, of course, because I would like to know low vibrational things that you no longer do that maybe you did in the past. Obviously, I know that we're not all in our 30s, but maybe you even did last year. Things that you did during a certain point of your life that you no longer do today. I, of course, would love to know, but I actually first saw this on TikTok, and it was a guy just talking about low vibrational things that he no longer does in his 30s, and I really loved the idea, so I made my own TikTok. And then as I was sitting down to record today, it was funny because last week's episode of Start Inspired was all about finances. I talked about how I have the May money calendar, which is a free download on my website by Samantha March. It is a free May money calendar. Each day has a different habit, task, goal, journal prompt, something like that on there, all focused around finances. And I was thinking for this week's episode, it was going to be something financial based as well. Though I really feel like last week I touched on a lot. I touched on my own financial situation from the past, how I was in excessive debt and not making a lot of money in my 20s, how I went from getting out of debt and making more money in my 30s, but still not really saving any money. And so I was kind of talking about all of those personal situations. And to me, that definitely felt like an incredibly personal topic that I was talking about. I think money is a hard thing for a lot of people to talk about. I think struggling with money is a hard thing for people to talk about. Admitting to mistakes is a hard thing to talk about. And when I mentioned in there about my credit card like debt consolidation that I had done, I, of course, you know, as a content creator, you have to post a little bit of everywhere. We repurpose content, cross promote, all of the things. And so I put little clips of this podcast on the YouTube channel, on Instagram, on TikTok, and I felt like the debt consolidation with all of my credit cards, that was something that was getting commented on the most. And so many people saying that they either wanted to do it themselves, so many people saying thank you for talking about it, because no one really addresses this. No one mentions what to do when you get so deep into credit card debt and you don't know how to get out of it. Because if I hadn't gone to this debt consolidation company, the sheer amount alone that I was paying just in interest on the cards, I mean, it was a hole I was never going to get out of. You know, I can remember getting some of those credit card statements that would say, like, if you only paid off your minimum due, you'll pay off this card in 92 years. That's like, okay. So obviously something had to be done. Now, is that financial advice, or I think everybody should do it? No, I think you should do your own research and decide if it's right for you, because I don't know your particular financial situation. I think that you should do a lot of looking into the company that you are using. You know, I did this when I was living back in Iowa, and that is the company that I used, but obviously there's a lot of factors that goes into it. But I really had a lot of comments about that, and I kind of felt like when I was thinking of ideas for this week's podcast, I felt really tapped out on the money talk. And I'm also preparing the month of May to go along this May money calendar, to be sending out regular emails to everyone who downloaded it, to trying to talk about it on my other platforms as well, and keep people inspired and motivated. I tend to get a lot of DMs, comments, emails the first week of the month that I have a free calendar, because I do it every other month. And then I can tell by the middle of the month, those DMs start to slow down. And then I can tell by the end of the month, like I'm only getting a handful here and there. So, I know people's motivation kind of trickles out. at a certain period of time. So I have a lot going on with financials that I will be focusing on for May. So when I was thinking about this one, I just really couldn't think of any topics to try to get to as my dog tries to get to the fly. And so when I made this TikTok on low vibrational things, I was like, that's what I want to share about today. So that's what we're going to share about. So I have my list here. If you don't follow me yet on TikTok, like I said, I'm by Samantha March. I post a little bit of everything over there. I post my life in Vegas. Did some really fun things this weekend. I post about makeup and beauty, of course. That's my main YouTube channel that I have. I do Amazon hauls and try-ons, you know, what I ordered versus what I got. I do a lot of food videos, what I'm eating, what I'm making, what I'm trying out, Trader Joe's hauls. And then, of course, I do goals and inspo. I have clips from the podcast. I have morning routines, night routines, healthy habits that I'm focusing on, and those sort of things. So you can always follow me for a very eclectic mix of content over on my TikTok. But to jump into low vibrational things that I used to do in my 20s that I no longer do in my 30s, one of the first ones that I thought of was not sleeping. Not only was I just not big on resting, like I thought that I had to be working literally all of the time. I was someone who definitely had the mindset of no days off. Like I had a hat that proclaimed that. You know, when I was in my early 20s, I was working 3 jobs while running a blog, trying to start a social media career, while starting a publishing company of my own. I used to own my own publishing company while writing books and starting the path of becoming a published author, and also trying to have a social life. You know, I had a boyfriend, friends, all things. So especially my early 20s was a crazy time, and I really never slept. I can remember going to my first job, needing to be there at 7 a.m., going to my second job that I'd work for a couple hours in the afternoon, and then going to my night job. I worked at a hotel at night, and I would be there until midnight. And then I would come home, I would write my blog posts, I would work on my book, I would go to bed around 3 o'clock, and then I would wake up around 6 so I could be into my job at 7 a.m. And that was my routine for a long time. And, you know, one thing I think is interesting, is slightly off topic, of course, but that's what I do. One thing I think is interesting is I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how when people see others online that they want to be like, you see someone with this dream house, you see someone with a dream career, you see someone going on your dream vacation, and you think, I want to be them right now. I want to be them in that moment. You oftentimes are not seeing what came before that. And some people are privileged, some people are lucky, some people, all the things, that comes into their life without having to work for it. But not a lot of people are that way. So it always reminds me of that, because sometimes I see people say you're so lucky that you have this career, or you're so lucky that you get makeup and PR, or you're so lucky that you've met these authors or had these opportunities. And they don't see that time in my early 20s where I was balancing 3 jobs, coming home and doing my social media and my book work between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m. And that's a good thing for also me to remember, because there's definitely times where I look at people, you know, I think about especially TikTok. I can remember seeing Charli D'Amelio start to blow up when I was first getting on TikTok, and this girl was everywhere. And I'm not gonna lie, I had thoughts about it, and I was like, oh, okay, just this teen girl just jumps on TikTok, and now she's a multi-millionaire and has all these opportunities. And then I would watch more of her videos, and I was like, oh, she's a trained dancer. And then, you know, you start to realize these people have a past, and they work through things. And honestly, I don't follow the D'Amelio family all that closely. I don't really know their background. They could have a lot of other things going on, but that's just a small example of me being oh, this person is not just getting on this app and doing funny dances. This is something that she's trained in. And I remember thinking that with other people of oh, they've been taking acting lessons for all these years, or they've tried their hand at acting all these different times, or they've been in you know, musical classes, they know how to play instruments, they're trained to sing. And a lot of times, especially with social media, you only get a very quick snapshot of somebody, or you see them 1 or 2 times and you think, oh, now they just have all of these things. You don't often see the work that they had to do to get there. So that's something that I try to remember a lot. So that's just, I listening to this podcast, it was just the night before as I'm recording this, and I was like, that's so true, and it's something I remind myself of very often. So I do think luck plays into a little bit of everything, but I actually have a podcast episode from probably like my first or second season of talking about how I don't feel like my career is luck. It's been a ton of work. It's been a ton of being my own cheerleader. It's been a ton of money and investing into myself, into my business, into equipment, into learning, into time, into education, into putting myself out there. I don't really feel like luck has much to do with it. And it's something I try to remember when I talk to people, to say like, oh, you're so lucky you have this. I don't actually know that. A lot of times I don't actually know that they're not just lucky, that there's been a lot of work that's been put into it. But when I think about no sleep, I think about my early 20s and how much I was doing and how much I was working and how much I wanted to succeed and how much I sacrificed in my early 20s. You know, I can remember so many times friends being like, let's go out, it's somebody's 21st birthday, or we're celebrating this, or heck, it's just a Wednesday, but we're 22 years old now, we can go to a bar. And how many times I said no, and how many times I turned down plans, and you know, for a long time, like, got made fun of. You know, I became known as the girl that like didn't go out, the hermit, the girl that was always at home reading books or posting pictures of herself online. And now those same friends are like, wow, you're so lucky. Wow, you're so lucky you live in Las Vegas. You're so lucky you work for yourself. You're so lucky that you're financially stable and independent and you were able to create this life for yourself. You're so lucky. And I'm like, am I lucky? Or did I just work really hard to get here? So that's a little something that I wanted to share. But, you know, also with not sleeping is I just also had issues sleeping. I think even in my later 20s, when I wasn't working such a hectic schedule, I wasn't working so many jobs, I just had troubles falling asleep. I could, you know, even if I laid down at 9 p.m., I would still be staring at the ceiling at midnight. I tried counting sheep. I tried listening to the radio. I tried listening to noises. I tried listening to TV. I tried silence. I tried eye masks, you know, the sleeping masks. I tried so many things. I just could not fall asleep. And I think part of it was my mind always running 1,000 miles a minute. I think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs or who are creatives, we always have so much going in our mind. It's never calm in there. You know, especially with being a content creator and social media, this job doesn't sleep. There's always something going on. There's always the lure of my phone, of wanting to check my notifications, see what's going on. And it contributed to a lot of sleep problems. Now, flash forward in my 30s and going through some health issues, I understand now the magnitude of how important sleep is. And it's become something that I really do prioritize, which sometimes means, you know, not going out late at night, not going out multiple nights in a row, you know, just different things like that. But also I've looked more into what are some things that will help with sleep. One of them being magnesium. This was recommended to me from my doctor. Again, just because I say something and something works for me doesn't mean just go out and do it. It's always nice to consult with someone if you can, or do your own research, or also just listen to your own body, of course. But magnesium is something that I've started taking at night that I find actually really does help me. I've also started really focusing on getting into a night routine, and it just kind of helps me process that this is now my night routine. We're getting ready for bed. And I think having these steps of a night routine, even really little things like turning on my humidifier at night, closing my blinds. A lot of times I have my candle turned on behind me. That's the last thing that I do when I leave my office. I have a home office, which I'm recording in. It's always messy. You get a very real life with the podcast. But that is the last thing that I do when I leave the office, is I make sure that is turned off. And that really signifies to me, you are done working. Your workday is coming to an end. Now, sometimes I usually don't leave my office until 9 p.m., 10 p.m. sometimes. But that signifies to me, like, and closing my laptop. That's a big thing that I've started doing at night. Really small things, but closing my laptop, physically closing it. your work day is done. Of course, I still work on my phone and I'm checking my phone and things like that, but it's just getting into that routine. A lot of times I like making a tea. I have usually like a spearmint tea at night. I do my skincare. I like to gratitude journal. That is part of my night routine. And then I also do a little bit of reading. I do most of my reading off of my Kindle. My Kindle is typically always right next to me. So I do most of my reading off of my Kindle, but I have wanted to incorporate reading more nonfiction books and more personal growth books, financial habits, different things like that. That's my goal for 2023. And so right now I'm reading Atomic Habits and I'm loving it. I think I'm like 2 chapters in and I've already had so many aha moments, which is really exciting for me. And so I just want to read something that's not necessarily off a screen, even though this Kindle is like the Paperwhite and it doesn't have the blue light and all of those things. The act, and again, it's part of my night routine. I'm not on my Kindle anymore, which I read primarily, the books that I read are for my book blog. So technically are still for a part of work. The books that I'm reading that I have a physical copy of, those are what I'm reading for myself. Those are my books. I'm choosing them. I'm choosing them for, a personal reason. I just finished In the Flow. I'm learning about cycle syncing. Now we're into Atomic Habits. I want to learn the most I can about building healthy habits and ways to be able to do that. So that's like my me time. And that kind of all signifies my night routine. Even something like changing into different clothes. Like when I wake up in the morning, I try to change, even if I'm just, working from home, working around the house, changing into my clothes. Like then it signifies, hey, now it's time to work out. And then if I'm filming, I'm changing my clothes. Or if I'm going somewhere, I'm changing my clothes. But at night, say I stayed in my workout clothes all day. I woke up, I got in my workout clothes. Like I can go to sleep in my workout clothes. But something about changing into like comfy sweatpants or something like that, again, it just kind of is signifying and telling my brain we're closing down. We're shutting down for the day. And I feel like that has all helped, part of my night routine. I also love my hatch. I have a hatch restore. I've talked about it so much on my main channel. And I listen to like just soothing sounds. Like mine is like rain, which probably not everybody loves. But for me, I love like the sound of rain. It feels like it helps me fall asleep. And so that is what I listen to at night. I don't turn the TV on at night anymore. And all of that helps me to fall asleep and to stay asleep. Really, I think one of the biggest things was the magnesium, but I think my night routine has really helped as well, which is why it was my April goal to really stick with my night routine, because I truly feel like it helps me when it comes to sleep. So I'm a big proponent for getting enough sleep now in my 30s for sure. Another thing that I had down, low vibrational activity that I no longer do in my 30s, is excessive drinking. I will say that I've never been a huge fan of alcohol. I actually did not start drinking alcohol until I was 19, which I know is still underage in the US. But most people my age started drinking around like the age 13, 14, 15. Definitely it seemed like everybody was drinking in high school. I probably tried alcohol at a party at one point, but it was something that I was never attracted to. I have seen alcoholism and just didn't have the urge to do it. And so I actually did not start like drinking regularly socially until I was in college. Which was like a pretty surprising thing. And I even remember a few of the first like college parties I went to, I knew I still didn't want to drink alcohol, so I would make my own drinks ahead of time. And it was usually a cherry Kool-Aid, like the Kool-Aid packets. And I would put it into like a water bottle and then just tell people I was drinking like a vodka with my Kool-Aid. Like I poured vodka in it. And that's what I did for a long time, because of course you get like the peer pressure in college. And the first party that I went to and I said I didn't drink, like people were making fun of me. So I thought, okay, well, you have to do something different. So I made my own pretend Kool-Aid vodka drinks and just had Kool-Aid. I drank a lot of Kool-Aid at college, let me tell you. My tongue was constantly red from my cherry Kool-Aid days. But that is what I did. And, over the years, there's definitely times where like I would be like the partier, you know, like my 21st birthday, of course I went out when my friends were turning 21, you know, we're all kind of turning 21 at the same time. The next year, my boyfriend at the time and all of his friends were then turning 21, so we're just like doing it all over again. So of course I had a lot of moments in my 20s and vacations and all of that where I was definitely drinking alcohol quite heavily, and it's just still not been something that I love doing. I don't like the way that it makes me feel. I don't like feeling out of control. I don't like feeling like I don't have control over my emotions, especially. I'm just not a fan of it. And also what I would say, even in my 20s, when I still, like, it was very clear that I was not a big drinker and amongst my group of friends. And when people would ask me, I would say, well, I need to go home and edit. I need to go home and work. I want to go home and work on my book, and I don't want to be drunk because I need to go home and work. And again, that just kind of plays into, I was working all of the time. I was making all of these sacrifices so I could try to be where I am today. And so I'm definitely someone that I feel like I do let peer pressure get to me a lot. I let like FOMO get to me a lot and that sort of thing. And even when I first moved to Las Vegas, there is so much here. If you have any bad habits, I mean, Las Vegas is going to exacerbate them. Everything is very readily available. So when I first moved to Las Vegas, I was drinking more than I have in quite some time. And I didn't like it. Didn't like the way it made me feel. Didn't like that I would not be productive the next day because, you know, now I'm on my own. You know, I'm completely financially independent, but that also means that like I have no one else to support me. My job is fairly unstable. You know, you kind of never know what social media is going to be doing. All of us creators have been talking about how AdSense has been absolutely, it's just so abysmal in the month of April, and really the whole of 2023. AdSense has not been where it's usually at, which is obviously very stressful on creators who do this full time, or even if you do it part time. You're just not seeing, comparing 22 to 2023 is thousands and thousands of dollars of difference, which is wild when it comes to what you think is your paycheck. So I was like, I just don't, this is not what I want to be doing. And you know, made a big change, and also kind of had to tweak my friendship group a little bit as well. And now the friends that I do have, like, they'll be the first ones to be like, Sam, like, oh, she doesn't really drink. Or it's like, we have a bar restaurant like at our property, and I'll go down and all of the bartenders are always like, oh, water with lemon. I'm like, yep. Like, or they'll even say, like, if there is like a weeknight that I'm drinking, they're like, whoa, something happened today. Like, it's like a big, like, people know, like, I'm either having a day, I'm having a situation, something's going on, maybe I'm celebrating something, maybe it's a positive, it doesn't have to be a negative. But it's like a thing, like when I do have an alcoholic drink, because I just simply don't drink a lot. Not saying that I don't drink at all, not saying I can't go out and have a good time, but I can also go out and have a good time without alcohol, and that's something I've always prided myself in, even in college. I've always been like, actually, I think I'm more fun when I am sober, because you're like, usually I'm gonna end up crying if I'm drinking. It's just like always what happens. I'm always getting emotional about something. So I think I'm a really fun sober, and I like being able to get up and work the next day a lot more. So excessive drinking just is not my thing. It's also not great for the body. You know, what I've learned through PCOS and high cortisol levels and all of the other digestion, gut hormone issues that I've been having is how terrible alcohol is for the body. And honestly, it's like great, just gives me more reason, because a lot of people here in my life, they know the health issues that I've been going through. So when I'm like, no, I don't want to drink an entire bottle of wine tonight, it's gonna mess with all the good that I've been doing, they're like, oh no, I get it. And I'm grateful that I have friends that I don't feel that kind of like peer pressure with, and like I'm not cool unless I am drinking a ton of alcohol, because I think I'm cool regardless. And another low vibrational activity is refusing to cook and relying solely on going out to eat. I mean, my 20s, I lived on McDonald's. I loved me some Long John Silver's back in the day. You know, then I remember like a point in time where I like tried to be healthy. So it'd be like Subway, Jimmy John's. Really, is that all that much healthier? There was definitely a time when my ex-husband and I bought our first house that it was like neither of us just like, you just tell, like, we didn't want to cook. I never had any interest in cooking. I've always kind of hailed myself as an undomestic goddess. I have a merch line saying undomestic goddess. And there was a point in time where my ex-husband and I were literally going out to eat 5 to 6 nights a week. Like, he would come home from work and be tired. I would be working my multiple jobs and I would be tired. And it was like, let's just run through a drive-through, or let's just go to the barbecue place down the street. And not only were we spending so much money, it also wasn't good for our health. And we also weren't setting ourselves up for success when it came to learning how to cook and enjoying the process of cooking. I first started to take cooking seriously when I knew I was going to be getting a divorce, and I knew that I was going to be living on my own, because somewhere around like our early 30s, my ex-husband really did take to cooking, and I was always like, oh, I'm just so glad I married a man who cooks, because he, you know, really started to love it and got into like the grilling, and he had a smoker and, you know, all of those things. So he was who I relied on to make my meals. And when he wasn't around, or he was busy or traveling for work or whatever, you know, I would have like frozen meals, like frozen bag meals. I'd go out to eat. And when I knew I was going to be getting divorced, I was like, you have to figure this out. Like, you have to do this. So it was funny because, you know, I kind of blamed it on quarantine to social media, because I didn't share about my divorce until I was already living in Las Vegas. I'd already moved from Iowa. So nobody knew that for, you know, a year, my ex-husband and I were separated. We were still living together, and the whole quarantine situation made it very difficult because we couldn't really leave the house and we were always with each other. That's very, very hard. It's very mentally challenging to go through something like that. I don't wish that on anybody, for sure. And I feel like we really respected each other and our boundaries and like all of that as we were going through it. But I was kind of portraying it on social media as like, oh, we're just stuck in the house, so like I might as well learn how to cook, when really it was like, I need to figure this out because I'm about to be living by myself. Also, my dog is snoring so loud. If you hear her, she's completely disinterested as usual. So that was when I first started to really get into it, and I was really proud of myself because we had a garden at our house in Iowa, and I actually ended up really loving it. Not that I did anything, you know, it was total kudos to my ex. He did all of it, but I would come out and like talk to him while he was watering the garden, and I would pick things and things like that. But I thought it was so cool that when I was like making a salad for lunch, I could go out and grab a pepper, or I could grab like the green onion or whatever it may be that was out there. I really enjoyed it. I started to enjoy more grocery shopping and just kind of like the challenge of putting recipes together. I'm definitely someone who likes a challenge, and so trying to decide like what sounded good, or looking at like what's on sale, what's in season, just different things like that. It was fun for me. I was making my own drinks. You know, I bought like an espresso. I was making all these coffee drinks. I had all these syrups. There was so much going on, and that's what really started me trying to learn. And then I will say again, I moved to Las Vegas. I was completely off my routine. Everything is so accessible here. You know, I never had DoorDash or Grubhub in Iowa, so all of a sudden I could be like, oh, I can just DoorDash myself nachos for lunch. I'm going to do that. Or Las Vegas, to me, one of the best parts of living here is the food. There's so much good food. There's so many celebrity chefs, and there's restaurants popping up all of the time. There's so many local gems, hidden gems here. There's so many donuts in Las Vegas. There's great ice cream. You know, there's so much here that I definitely was like, I want to eat it all. Like, I was in like a foodie group for a while. I was like, this is so exciting. And then when I started getting sick, that was another thing that really propelled me to look at my eating habits, because I have said that I have definitely dealt with a sugar addiction. And for as healthy of a person as I've always wanted to be and said that I have been, you know, I have been regularly into fitness since I was a senior in high school. I'm someone who, again, doesn't drink a lot of alcohol. I don't partake in drugs. I feel like I really respect my body the best way that I can, and I try to do good things for it. But my diet has never been good. Never been good. I hated vegetables. I mean, for a long time, I hated like pretty much anything. Like, I was basically just eating mac and cheese and chicken strips. Like, and it was not something that I enjoyed about myself. I remember going home for the first time to meet my boyfriend's family, who then became my husband, and I had so much anxiety about going home this first time to meet his family because it was over Easter weekend. So I knew that we were having like an Easter lunch with, his siblings and his mom and dad. And I had so much anxiety about what I was going to be eating because I didn't want to seem disrespectful that I wasn't eating the food. I didn't want to make it seem like I didn't like their cooking. I just didn't really like anything. And I was so stressed about this. And even like going out to eat with people, I would be embarrassed like to just order chicken tenders, and I would try things. I've talked in podcast episodes about I would try things. It wasn't that I wasn't trying them. There were certain things that I just couldn't get over. Sometimes it was textures of things. Sometimes even just like smells of things. But I kept trying and I kept trying and I kept trying. And I finally started to be able to expand my palate. And I think experimenting with things such as vegetables, different ways to cook them, different ways to season them, all of those things really did help me. And I will say going through health, I think was a huge motivator to like get it in gear, really figure out what works for you, and just make small changes. When I started to try to eat healthier, I was making very small little tweaks, which is why I always recommend to people of don't get down on someone because they made a small change that you might think that's not a big deal. Like, I see people say things and they're also not like negative comments or rude comments, and it's a reminder to me because I do the same things with my friends and I do the same things with myself too. But, I said something the other day about how I've switched to like an almond milk, versus more of like a dip, because I'm highly sensitive to a lot of dairy and dairy products. And someone was like, well, you really need to be making your own milk. And I'm like, well, that's maybe down the road. Or people have said like, you need to make your own granola, or you need to like, those are all great things and great goals to be able to strive for. But if I can just make small little changes, I remember saying like, I'm cutting out refined sugar. And then I was saying how I eat dates, and people are like, well, dates and fruit still have sugar. It's like, yes, but it's better than eating a box of Bunch of Crunch or going to Cold Stone for a gigantic thing of cake batter ice cream with Oreos in it. Like eating it 2 dates is better for me. Like sometimes even if it comes to calories, sometimes what I'm swapping is the same amount of calories, but refined sugar, I've been learning a lot about like balancing blood sugars and all of that. Like refined sugar can really spike those blood sugars, whereas something more natural like that is found in like fruit is not going to do that. So again, like little changes can all be really helpful. But I really enjoy cooking for myself now. I enjoy my Trader Joe's runs and picking out my vegetables. I enjoy finding new ways to cook things and put things together and new combinations to try. And it's something I look forward to because I feel like I have control. I feel like I know what I'm putting into my body. I don't think it's a secret that the food in the US is mostly crap. And going out to eat and the processed foods and the fillers and everything that is in our food, there's probably a reason why there are so many people with health issues, obesity, cancers, PCOS, infertility, all of the things. I think big culprit of that is food. And so if I can make the majority of my meals at home, that's something great to do. And then when my friends want to go out to eat, it's like great. I say like I try for like the 80-20 rule, but for me, if I can make the majority of my meals at home, I'm in really good shape and I'm really happy that I'm there. Another thing that I put down is not understanding my finances. So this obviously was the topic that I discussed last week. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I'd really recommend that you do that, because I especially talked a lot about having a victim mentality and how I was just kind of waiting for the universe to change my life. I was waiting for someone to come along and give me an opportunity. I was waiting for one of my books to be made into a movie. And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't taking aligned action. I wasn't putting the work in to be able to make that happen. I was just sitting and I was waiting, and I had a victim mentality for sure. I wasn't trying to understand my finances. I wasn't trying to learn about high yield savings accounts, retirement accounts, 401ks. I wasn't trying to learn about anything. I was just waiting for someone to do that for me. And so taking control of my finances, being as financial literate as I can, you know, listening to the podcast. I just posted a shorts video here of some resources, some books that I read, podcasts that I did listen to or still listen to, and, you know, seeking out even like YouTube videos instead of primarily watching makeup and beauty videos. I watch from financial investors or business owners. And again, it's not all that. I still watch my makeup and beauty videos and all of that, but again, I try to strive for that like 80-20, and try to consume more for me on the personal growth side, learning, goal setting, healthy habits, all of that, and then be able to have like my fun time as well. But that's something that is a priority to me in my 30s and beyond, is understanding my financial situation. Next up, I put down letting unmotivated people influence my decisions. And I felt like this one kind of sounded harsh, but I just also feel like it's true. And I actually said this, I remember on my birthday, I posted a TikTok of, was it like habits I did in my 20s? It was pretty similar. Oh no, things that I'm too old for. Things that I am too old for. That was the trend that was going around, and I decided to post it on my birthday. And I said basically the same thing of having friends that basically whose goals and morals don't line up with mine. And there's been several times, you know, over the course of my friendships that I realized like, wow, I really only talk to these people about other people. You know, gossip is a big thing. Who's with who, who's wearing what, who's making these decisions, other people's relationships. And I just like really don't care about stuff like that anymore. I remember, you know, I'm in the beauty space, and I saw Jaclyn Hill recently got remarried. So she got married over the weekend, and I was seeing some people on like Twitter and Instagram like repost her wedding photo that she posted and was like, here's her wedding photo. What do we think? What do we think about her dress? What do we think? And literally all it was, because Jaclyn Hill gets a lot of hate online, which I won't get into whether I believe she should or not, but like literally I felt like it was just a post so people could trash this woman on her wedding day. That was it. Like the first few comments that I read, and I literally had to click away because I was so disgusted, it was like about her hair, her body, all of that. And I was just like, what is the point of this? Who cares? Like I used to be someone who would watch like the Fashion Police with like Joan Rivers. I literally could care less. I don't care. And I just don't know how to say it in any other terms. And it's not like I don't care about the people, I don't care about how they're doing, but like I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care what makeup you're buying. I don't care what book you choose to read. Like, live your life and I'll live mine. Like, I just can't care so deeply about what people name their children. It has nothing to do with me. What you name your kid has no effect on my life. I mean, it's just like these posts and these threads that I see online. I don't get it. When I get into conversations and people are like, well, did you hear that so-and-so is doing this and doing that? I tend to excuse myself because I'm just like, I don't care. I would like to talk about something else. And, you know, I've had to cycle through some friendships because I realized it wasn't aligning with my goals and values, or because I am someone who I feel like I can take on other people's personas, and not other people's personas. How do I explain this? I'm an empath. I can feel people's emotions. A lot of times I can sense emotions just like being in a room with someone else, but I can tend to take on other people's emotions as well. So if I'm sitting with someone and they are very sad and they are very quiet, I will be very sad and I will be very quiet. And if I am with someone who is more extroverted and outgoing, I will then be more extroverted and outgoing. And if I am sitting with someone who wants to just talk trash about someone, I feel the urge to then continue to have this conversation to talk trash about someone. And I have had to really work hard on this to understand who I am as a person. This has been something I've worked on for years, and I've worked with my therapist about, because I don't want to take on emotions of other people. I want to be me. I just want to be me. And I want to have my own identity. I want, when I am out, that people are like, Samantha is A, B, and C. Not Samantha is, well, she's with this person, she's like this, and she's with that person, she's like this. And I think we all have a little bit of everything. You know, if you're with your boss or your employees, you're probably like a little bit more professional, whereas with your friends, you might let your hair down, whereas if you're with your significant other, you might be more PDA, like whatever it may be. But at the core, like, we're all, like, we have our personality traits. And I feel like for a long time, I didn't really have a personality trait because I would just take on the personality traits of those around me. I just don't want to be like that anymore. So when it comes to being around unmotivated people, I've had so many times in my life where I've realized that people's goals, values, their desires just simply don't match up with mine. And I need to move on from that. And it's happened to me in friendships, it's happened to me in relationships. And I'm not saying that I don't think these people are like not good people or they won't achieve things out of life. Not saying anything like that. It's just, for me, I prefer to be around people that are a little bit more aligned with my motivation, goals, and desires. And I also don't think that that's a negative trait to have. But there's been a lot of times, you know, especially I think about like my younger years in college, and of course I'm talking about things that I did in my 20s that I don't do in my 30s, of, well, just skip work, or just stay out, or just have one more drink, or just have this shot, or just skip work again. You know, all of these things that it was like, I don't want to do this, and this isn't helping me, and this isn't propelling me, it's not moving me forward. It might be fun in the moment, but then I'm going to regret it. I'm not going to be able to get enough work done tomorrow. I'm not going to be productive. My body's going to hurt, whatever it may be. And I'm just not interested anymore. I'm not interested in that. I know what I want out of life. I know how driven I am. I know that I have my healthy habits that I go back to every single day, and I don't want to let people into my close circle, into my little bubble, that could potentially impact that. So I won't. The last thing that I put on for low vibrational things that I no longer do in my 30s is buying excessive makeup. So obviously this ties in with starting a YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel in 2015 as a book channel. I did book hauls, I talked about being a writer, I talked about being a blogger, I talked about being a publisher, I did book reviews. And then in 2016, I really rebranded to a full beauty channel. On my blog that I started in 2009, I did a little bit of everything. I did books, I did beauty, I did fitness, I did fashion, I did celebrity for a while, I did recipes, I did fitness. And once I started YouTube, I would mainly do book videos, and then every once in a while, like once a month, I would put like a lipstick review or a Walgreens haul where I bought 3 things from Maybelline. And I would notice that those videos would do really well, and they would do better than my book videos. So then I thought maybe I should have my blog be mostly about books, and I should have my YouTube channel be mostly about beauty. So in 2016, I went full on of, I'm going to be a beauty YouTuber. Not only is it expensive being a YouTuber, buying, you know, tripod, camera, lens, editing software, lights, then you think of the product that you are buying. And then when you start talking about buying a lot of makeup. So I started by just going to Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, and buying Maybelline, Revlon, CoverGirl. And I would also, in the beginning, I would use a lot of those same products over and over again. You would see me using the same foundation. You would see me using the same lipstick. And I started to get comments of, how come you always use the same products? How come you aren't showing new things at Sephora? How come you don't have the new Too Faced collection like everybody else? And I let those comments get to me 100%. You know, I have to take personal responsibility there. I let them get to me, and I let those comments think you're less than. I'm not doing good enough. I'm not putting in enough work. I'm not doing enough to be successful. I need to be doing more. So to me, that was, I need to be buying more makeup. Now I need to be going to Sephora and buying the high-end brands. Now I need to be going and buying every single shade of lipstick that Too Faced just put out, and I need to come home and I need to do a swatch video. Oh, ColourPop is a new and poppin' brand. I need to buy every single Super Shock that they are coming out with so I can do an eye swatching video. I was spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on makeup that I did not have. When I talk about being thousands of dollars into credit card debt, that is why. And also, just because you're putting all this time and energy into YouTube doesn't mean that you're getting a paycheck from it. You know, when you first start YouTube, well, now you can't even monetize until you have certain, I was going to say plateaus, that's not right, certain milestones that you have to hit. Whereas when I first started, anyone could be monetized right away. But that meant, you know, unless you had videos going viral back then, you were making a few cents a video, then you were maybe making a few dollars a video. Maybe at the end of the month, you were making $200, $300, but I was spending $2,000, $3,000 on makeup. I was making, in 2016, I made $8,000 for that entire year. When I say I spent a lot more on makeup, that's no joke. So obviously, you know, one of the things I was talking about in my financial episode is you want to make more money than you spend. I was doing way the opposite. Not only when it comes, there's several reasons why I've been stepping away from beauty, several reasons. And I actually was sitting here and working on a caption for a TikTok that I am planning to make talking about this. Obviously, it was putting me into debt. I was spending a lot of money. I was also, I have so much makeup. I have so much. Even decluttering on a regular basis. I am on a lot of PR lists, and sometimes that's great for being able to get products early and I can show them on my channel. But sometimes, even if I want to be taken off a PR list, it's not as easy as just telling a brand, hey, I want to be taken off. There's so much turnover. A lot of times emails are returned, Instagram messages don't get looked at. I've even had brands say, great, we've taken you off the list. 4 more packages come in. It's not as simple as just being like, I want to be taken off PR lists. And I know other creators can attest to that as well. Obviously, I think about consumerism and what my influence is doing to people. Again, I don't want to blame, I'm not into blaming creators for people buying makeup, clothes, fragrance, whatever it is, because you have to have responsibility over what you're buying. Point blank. Again, there was a time in my life where I tried to blame the comments. Well, the comments want me to buy more makeup. The comments want me to buy expensive makeup. The comments want to see all of these lipstick shades. I was the one buying the makeup, not the comments. So point blank, I'm not interested when people are like, oh, well, this creator made me buy it. I'm not interested in that because you bought it. So you have to have personal responsibility. That took me years to figure out for myself as well. But I do think about my influence and what it has on people because I see it. I see it when it comes to people buying makeup. I see it when it comes to people incorporating chia seed squeezes into what they eat. I see it into people trying reformer Pilates. I see it into people downloading my free calendars and going about their healthy habits that way. I see what my influence does to other people, and that to me is incredibly important. That to me is something that I don't take for granted, and I work really hard not to take for granted and not to just put shit out on the internet. I try really hard. I'm very careful with every single thing that I post, to the point where I am probably too careful, to the point where I hold myself back too much because I overthink every single thing that I post because I know people are listening to me. I understand that I do not have 1 million followers on any platform, but I understand, I see the numbers. I see what makeup products you are buying based on my recommendations. I see what you are purchasing on Amazon based on my recommendations. You send me emails of the healthy habits that you are doing based on my recommendations. I have an incredibly engaged community, and I do not take that for granted. That is what has given me so many opportunities in this career. I've never had a viral video. I've never had a viral video. I have just over 113,000 subscribers on YouTube. I've been doing this since 2016. I lose hundreds of Instagram followers a day. I don't have a huge platform on Instagram. I don't have a huge platform on TikTok, but the people that are in my community listen to me. I take that very seriously. I take that very seriously when it comes to any content that I'm putting out, with any sponsorships that I am doing, with anything that I am recommending. I take that shit seriously. that to me is very important, because that is exactly what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to be able to influence people for the good. I've always wanted to help people get through their hard times and their hardships. So I take this seriously. So I do think about the consumer aspect when it comes to buying makeup. I think about how much makeup I am accumulating, and I also think about beauty standards. And that's what's really got my mind racing the past several weeks, probably even several months really, is beauty standards. I always told myself that because I filmed beauty videos for the YouTube space, that of course I would wear makeup in these videos. Maybe I would start makeup free, but I'd be putting makeup on while talking about a certain subject. But I would always have makeup on in my videos, and it was like, oh, it makes sense. I'm a beauty influencer. Of course I have makeup on. Or maybe I'm reviewing the products I have on my face, and I'm like, look at this lipstick. But then I started to think about it more, and I've really been thinking about it a lot in the past few months, where every single time I go to film, I feel like I need to put makeup on. Today, I was gonna film a few TikToks. Got some sunglasses, I was gonna do this sunglass haul. And I automatically started reaching for my makeup to put it on. And I was like, I'm just making a few TikToks. It doesn't have anything to do with makeup. And then I was like, oh, well, I have makeup on. I could film for my podcast. Maybe I could film for a YouTube video. But I feel like I have to put makeup on in order to film. And then I think about some of the videos that I see going viral, especially on a platform like TikTok. A lot of times, you know, videos pop up for me on my For You page that have to do with healthy habits, food, recipes, even some bigger things, women's rights, bodily autonomy. And it's so funny because oftentimes I look at the comments and there's other women saying, what mascara are you wearing? Drop the makeup routine. What's your skincare routine? Like, the video can be on like why you should eat healthy. Here's 8 healthy foods to try to incorporate into your diet. And they're like, what lipstick are you wearing? And the more that I see these comments, the more bothered I get. And I'm like, you're missing the point of the video. This video isn't about lipstick. What? I remember there was a whole video where it was a female lawyer was talking about Roe v. Wade. And she had beautiful eyelashes. All of the comments were about her mascara routine. And I was like, okay. I see a lot of videos going viral on TikTok that I think, why is this video going viral? You know, as a content creator, I'm always thinking, what makes this video go viral? Personally, this is in my own opinion, a lot of the videos that go viral and a lot of the females that get a lot of attention on social media are beautiful. They are naturally beautiful. They do their makeup in really beautiful ways. They have beautiful features. They have beautiful hair. I very, very rarely have a viral TikTok come across my page or a viral Instagram feed of women without makeup. Or they're at least like they're putting makeup on in some way, or they're definitely no makeup type vibes. Even like going to the gym, you can tell they have their lip gloss on and their mascara. They probably have foundation and powder on as well. And it makes me really sad because it has made me feel like I need to wear makeup every single time I come online, and I don't want to. I love filming just my Amazon hauls, and I throw a hat on and I'm like, let's do it. I've literally not a stitch of makeup on. And I truly, truly wonder if I would start being in full glam for every single video that I did, if my videos would start popping off. I really, really wonder that. I think beauty standards have really gotten away from people, and it makes me really sad because I think it's a circle with most things. I think it's a cycle. I've talked about this in the beauty community of me buying a lot of makeup and recommending it, you buying it, you blaming me for buying it because I recommended it, but I can also see the reverse side of it. Me not wanting to buy a lot of makeup, people saying, wow, your reviews really suck, you don't have any makeup, you haven't reviewed this latest formula, you don't know anything. Me feeling the pressure to buy the makeup, me buying the makeup, me reviewing the makeup, you feeling the pressure to buy the makeup. It's a cycle. It just keeps going. I can see the flip sides to everything. So I think there's a reverse side to this as well. Beauty influencers, you know, I don't want to just say women that are on the internet, but this is what I primarily see. I follow mostly other females online. We come online and we look beautiful and we have our makeup done and we have our hair done and we have a cute outfit, and that puts pressure on the consumers and the people watching and the subscribers and the audience to look beautiful and to buy the makeup and do the skincare routine and do all of that. But I can also see the flip side to it as well, and how those on the internet, especially females, feel the pressure of showing up every day looking perfect and looking beautiful. I had a conversation recently with a Vegas content creator, and she said, well, I'm just known for full glam. Like, I'm known for being in all of my TikToks in a cute workout outfit with full makeup on, lashes on. That's just like what I'm known for. She's like, I just don't think I could come on TikTok without makeup on. That gave me a lot to think about. And again, as I sit here today and I think, oh, I'm gonna do some filming, I automatically reach for my makeup. Oh, I'm gonna leave the house, I automatically reach for my makeup. And I don't want to do that. It's not that I don't want to wear makeup. It's not like I don't like makeup. I don't want to feel the pressure to only look pretty or feel pretty when I have something else on my face. And that's something I'm going to work on. But when it comes to buying excessive makeup, that is something that I have definitely cut back, especially this year, going into 2022. And even the year before that, I started to get very overwhelmed. Very overwhelmed how much makeup I was buying, trying, keeping, using, recommending, wearing. You can see my evolution on YouTube. I mean, all of my videos are still up unless they ended up having a copyrighted sound. Then I removed those. You can see my videos from 2016, gigantic liner, huge lashes. I mean, I didn't do my brows for the first year, but once I started doing the brows, like I would do the carved out brows, the contour, the baking, the highlighting, the everything. And I am much more scaled back. Even today, I have concealer on, powder. I did bronzer and blush, mascara, and just a lip gloss. I didn't even do a lip liner, which is very shocking to me. But I'm trying not to feel that pressure. And then again, at the same time, it makes me wonder if I'm going against myself. Like if I'm not going to be able to achieve success online that other beautiful women are achieving. And that's hard. It's a hard cycle. And I'm sure a lot of women struggle with this as well. But excessive buying of makeup, wearing of makeup, something that I'm trying to cut back on and feel like more comfortable and confident in myself. Again, not that I'm like not gonna wear makeup. I don't like, I'm not trying to like be Alicia Keys and be like, I'm never wearing makeup again, because I still like it. It's more the inner work that I'm concerned about and the inner confidence that I'm concerned about. So this episode ended up being a long one. Not that I thought that it was going to be short, but I definitely didn't think I'd be talking for nearly an hour on this. I'm quite hungry. I know my dog she's fainted on the floor behind me. I don't think you can see her on YouTube, but she's full on fainted on the floor because she's so hungry. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm very curious to get your feedback on what you thought. Of course, please leave comments on YouTube. You can always DM me, comment on Instagram or TikTok. I'll have videos going up, like little short clips of this episode as well. I really enjoyed this one. This is a favorite episode of mine, for sure. And I hope that you enjoyed it as well. I hope that you took something away from it. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast, rate, review it, all of the good things. And let me know what are some low vibrational things that you no longer do or that you are working towards no longer doing. I, of course, want to know. But thank you so much for listening. I'll see you in the next one.